Issue 240. You know, with the big 240 round number, I would expect this to be the issue with the smear campaign in it. We start out with narration where someone makes a joke about someone walking into a casino wearing a bomb suit and threatening to blow up the casino if they don't let him play the tables and win as much money as he wants. Now I'm suspecting that he's actually gonna do that for real, because that's the kind of joke that's either extremely crosses the line twice or just plain do not funny. The owner of the casino is told the villain, the dice, comes from a rival family casino, and he has to find and disarm all the bombs before he'll bankrupt him. There's a charming joke where right after the narration says, "This owner is totally at a loss. He's never had to deal with anything like this before." The owner literally says the exact same thing, which is amusing since I don't think he'd literally say that. People don't just say how they feel. That makes me feel angry. I wonder how that worked out narrator-wise. Like, did the narrator actually repeat exactly what he said to explain what the owner said? Anyways, the owner sends his staff down the maintenance passages, the most likely place to find a bomb. And then it turns out through the narration that the narrator himself was the one who planted the bomb. And now I have an idea of where this is going, since last issue was the smear campaign, and I was just wondering what the hell this had to do with that. The next page has the dice continue looking menacing, saying that if he loses, or if the game is stopped, the bomb will go off. And we see Sonic and Tails dress up in tuxedos, charmingly enough. It's always nice when they have different outfits. And Sonic says he plans to win the game against the dice. But these are games of chance. Unless he can count cards, how does he plan to win for an absolute certainty? And the dice just said that if he loses, the bomb will go off. If the dice has a bomb blowing up remote on his person, why doesn't Sonic just beat him up and take it from him? Anyways, the narrator suddenly reveals he used to date one of the female freedom fighters. And good, it's said to be Techno, so it's obvious who it is. It's excellent that they established that one of the freedom fighters did used to have relationships, which makes sense for a main cast of teenagers. This is something that I feel like only a fan comic would bother to do, because Fleetway before the continuation didn't have the guts to have anybody date. So I respect this. The narrator had taught Techno everything she knows about bombs. Wait, Tails was playing against the dice too? No, he's the only one playing, while Sonic is trying to do something else. I guess he meant, I'll win against you in something other than the card game, but he didn't make that very clear. I guess it makes sense that the more competent one would do the more important job, looking for the bomb. Tails, who was trying to lose on purpose for buying some time, ends up winning by accident as he was hiding his good cards and was forced to show them. It's kind of amusingly surreal that he says, "I'll try harder to lose next time." Since when does anyone say that? Then Sonic shows some racism against the insect people of the Special Zone, and almost wishes they stayed there and died, because he thinks they caused nothing but trouble. He gives someone something saying that it's disarmed. Is it rigged by someone to actually be armed and he doesn't know it? The person tries to make someone else hold it to no avail. And Tails looks nervous being yelled at for winning again. Wow, I don't know whether this proves he's smart because he's able to win effortlessly at cards, or if it's an epic fail of incompetence because he was supposed to lose, and is putting the casino at risk. A lot of charm in this story. Then someone at a slot machine yells at Sonic that he found something, with the narrator snarking that Sonic was relieved someone else did the hard work for him for once. And he finds a bomb just when Tails wins again. You can tell the ant's really looking forward to blowing up a casino. The narrator thinks about how the look on Tails' face will be great when he edits it all together, so apparently this is all videotaped. How? Flying spy drones no one can see? And Sonic creates a vortex around the bomb as it explodes, which has never been done before. Yes, it has actually, when he was Supersonic, though I can't blame the narrator for not knowing that. He wasn't there. Sonic then collapses, briefly making Tails think he died, holding him in his arms. Sonic holds his head and reassures him that he's fine, he's just dizzy, and he almost went super from desperation. Which makes perfect sense since he was super last time he did something like this. The narrator says that it's a bit of a shame his yellow friend didn't show up. He's always wanted to make it his Ashley movie. Oh, by yellow friend he meant Supersonic. I was confused at first at him talking as if Sonic and Super were still separate people, and plus I tend to think of Tails as yellow. Tails apologizes for failing, ironically because he couldn't stop winning. The dice is hauled away, The narrator plans to place his bail so he won't get implicated for intentionally placing the bomb for the sake of recording Sonic. And the story ends with it turning out that Bean the Dynamite, refreshingly not really that insane in this comic, was the one behind the footage. So how can this get Sonic in trouble? I guess that wasn't the point of the story. The story ends with him saying his job is boring. I mean, I guess it makes sense that Bean would be about bombs. Like I smiled when I realized that. It definitely has a rewatch bonus there, because he's the one who planted the bomb, and at the end you find out, oh, it's actually Bean. Of course, he is insane in the sense that, why would he do this? But, I mean, he doesn't talk nearly as insanely as when Flynn writes him. Which, I don't know. I like and I don't like at the same time. It makes him a little more believable. We start out the next story in a dark dimension with Eggman. You know, I would have appreciated immediately learning what exactly that dark dimension is called, no? Same situation as right after some rocks were falling towards him? Oh well, Eggman brags that Mobius will soon be his again. I guess Grimer and him had a really good plan since it made Eggman recover hope from his I have no hope I can rule Mobius again, so let's destroy it phase. See, this is how you make him recover from having snapped completely natural, Flynn. Eggman says that for too long, Mobius thought he was a mere madman abandoned by his most faithful servant. He was. Grimer explicitly said, I quit. I really would prefer if Grimer was his own independent villain. Though it would be redundant to have two scientist villains try to take over the world, in theory, but they could easily stick with the idea that Eggman and Grimer would have two separate goals. Eggman would want to destroy the world in frustration because he can't rule it, which suits his childish mentality, like that's his character. And Grimer would stick with Eggman's old goal of conquering Badniks. It'd work perfectly fine. But no, nostalgia, tradition. Eggman holds Grimer to his side kinda heartwarmingly, while saying that people would pay, and brags that he doesn't give up so easily. I guess not then. Grimer tells him to look at the security footage with Sonic on it, saying that they have company. Sonic smashes through a wall and says that Badniks prove that Eggman's here. Well, the Eggman fanboy club at Drat was taken down by Tails and Charmy after all, so I guess he has good reason to assume that they wouldn't be the ones responsible for the Badniks. Sonic wonders if Eggman's recovered from his madness, and a siren goes off. Sonic proudly refuses to run and hide, but that quickly becomes his biggest mistake, as he runs straight into electricity from some Badniks because he didn't have enough space for a spin attack. Since when do you need space to jump in the air a little or do a spin dash? What he should have been written to say was that he was surprised by them too quickly to be able to curl up into a ball, and even then it'd be stilted for him to actually say it and have the time to do so. But yeah, he was electrocuted to unconsciousness. Oh boy. He made a big mistake by coming here, and alone at that. Well, I assume so. I haven't read that far ahead. Eggman brags that Sonic's defeated, as Grimer smiles and grabs the lever. But then he suddenly looks depressed for no reason at all after he pulls the lever down and the lights go dark, with what looks like the sound effect to a lawnmower. Why would Grimer be depressed about this? He's always wanted to kill Sonic. Grimer looks at a news broadcast reminding me of the issue around the time that Sonic first meeting Knuckles. I like that little callback. It's the same reporter. He eats some mashed potatoes on a plate, does some welding, takes a screwdriver to an alarm on the ceiling of his cave, and at 7 o'clock, the Eggman-shaped alarm clock goes off. Huh, this is sort of like a day in the life of Grimer. Though since it's not showing me anything I want to have already seen normally with a pointless Eggman and Grimer segment, what's the point? I assume this is leading up to something big. Like, I don't know, maybe Sonic is trapped in a simulation for a while after being put in electricity? Grimer pulls a lever, and Eggman brags that today's the day, and soon his project will be ready, and not even Sonic will be able to stop him. Grimer then looks depressed and lies that he had never doubted Eggman, and never thought he had been reduced to a blithering madman. Okay, the blithering part is an exaggeration, but he really did snap and want to destroy the world, so his plan better be really good as the sole explanation to justify Eggman snapping out of his despair. I mean, it's better than Eggman reasoning himself back into insanity. In the next story, we start out with Tails and Amy having an investigation where a purple guy ends up destroying a palm tree. Or, something? What happened that Amy's shielding her eyes from? someone who reminds me of Rouge says this is terrible, and someone who reminds me of Antoine says that was a waste of a fine car. There was a car? Anyways, Amy says the goon's Dawn is having a laugh if he thinks he can squish them. The purple guy says that throwing cars is one of his favorite hobbies. Good thing I was told that was what happened because I never would have guessed. He threatens Amy and Tails, who look at him angrily, and Amy surprised me making me do a double take because she said the word freak around Tails. But of course she didn't call Tails that, but still. Amy tells Tails to distract him for... And then we see someone on the rooftop saying not yet. Then the purple guy tries to punch Amy. Tails grabs the purple guy's face, wishing that he could hold him steady, and the red guy tells someone on a phone to get ready for this. Amy shoots the purple guy with a laser and says, "Another bullseye! How do I cope with all this talent?" This is how you write Amy's dialogue. Have her talk like Sonic, not just like a stalker fangirl. Then some small bug lands on Tails' tail complaining that he's in pain. So why didn't Tails immediately hear that? Amy dodges the purple goon's attack by jumping to make him crash into a wall, and he ends up standing around with a part of the wall on his head with his voice mumbled, causing Amy to sarcastically snark, "Really? How interesting. And the name's Amy, you chump." I don't know if the purple goon had legitimately never heard of Amy somehow, or if he was intentionally getting her name wrong to screw with her, but he didn't seem like he was. That felt forced. While Amy did say she wanted to stay out of the spotlight and let Sonic be in it, she'd still be pretty famous as a freedom fighter. Tails reassures the civilians that everything's fine, and I'm satisfied at them calling Amy a brave hero. It's nice to see someone other than Sonic be praised as a hero in this comic. Amy then says nicely that she couldn't have done it without Tails, because he's just as much of a hero as she is. Then the red guy calls someone saying that Tails was properly bugged, so now the freedom fighters will be at the mercy of the family, because Tails can't go anywhere without them knowing. Seriously, you think Tails would immediately feel the bug colliding with his tail, and this whole thing would have never happened in the first place. I could understand if the red guy very carefully and subtly placed it in his tail fur instead, but he didn't. So, the first story was a charming, light-hearted one by Jamie J about a guy who sits in front of the cameras filming a casino, narrating about how he saw Sonic save it from a bomb he planted. So this guy has footage of Sonic being a hero, basically. Though people already take that for granted, so I guess that wouldn't help his reputation if the absolute worst happened. There was a lot of charm in it. There was a lot of nice lines, and the amusing irony that Tails winning too much is actually failing. It sure was lucky that the dice didn't decide to blow up the casino the second that he lost to Tails the first time. I can only guess that he actually didn't want to blow anything up, and only went through with the plan thinking Sonic would succeed, and did it because Bean told him to. It's an interesting way to introduce Bean. I hope he shows up again. And hey, now him being Techno's former boyfriend makes a little more sense. That's pretty brilliant. There's certainly a dark implication, though, that people would genuinely put places in danger just for the sake of getting Sonic to show up and do hero stuff, if only to film it. But barely anyone would actually do such a thing. Only someone as crazy as Bean would. It'd be much worse if it was Sonic's idea in the first place. That could get him in big trouble. So let's see if this charming story gets followed up in the next issue by something not so happy. Ed Reynolds wrote the second story, where Sonic is led into electricity in Eggman's base and knocked out, and it's revealed that Grimer more naturally got Eggman back to his senses by having a phenomenal plan. Though we're not supposed to know it's phenomenal yet. It's already spoiled on this ahead of time. Other than that though, the story was filler because we don't actually learn what his plan is yet. It's just ominousness. And it still feels jarring to have Eggman back in his typical position working with Grimer, when it could have worked fine for the rest of the comic, having Eggman be a destructive mad scientist, while Grimer's his usual self working against him. And the third story, by Jamie J, was about one of Max Gamble's goons fighting Amy Tails in Casino Night, and one of them puts a literal bug on Tails' tails so that he wouldn't be able to do anything without the Mafia family knowing about where he is. The problem is, there's no way he wouldn't immediately notice it from feeling it and hear it complain. This could have been handled more naturally. Besides, even now, when the bug learns about where Tails is going next and what he's doing, he'd have to talk to give his friends the information. And Tails would hear him, unless he went far enough away from him. Even then, if he left his tail, well, one, Tails might end up going away from him and the bug wouldn't be able to get back to Tails. And 2, wouldn't Tails hear him land on the ground from leaving his tail and turn to see him? This red guy was following him. Couldn't he have just kept following him? Maybe been a chameleon who goes invisible to justify him always getting to follow him? This could have been written more naturally. Though I guess it is pretty brilliant that it's a literal bug.